Today I have PJ Glassey with me, and has started a gym and published a book and has a DVD and a bunch of other things that he's going to share with us today about how he got started. And I'm super curious about one of the things I saw on your site about the 21-minute twice a week workout. So I'll be curious to learn about that as well. But to start, PJ, just tell us how you got started in fitness and how that first kind of sparked the entrepreneurial journey for you, and then obviously kind of where how it's led you to where you're at today.
Sure. So I got started. I guess it starts back in high school when I started working out, because I was the skinny kid, and I was tired of being that skinny. So I said, well, I should start lifting weights, and maybe that'll change things. And it did, but it takes some perseverance, because especially for an ectomorph like me, it takes a while to go from skinny to even slight definition. And so
I was that kid too.
But about a year into it, I remember one day that I was standing there and I was thinking, you know what? I was looking at myself in the mirror and I was thinking, I actually am not ashamed anymore to go to the beach. That was a turning point. So then I said, okay, now I'm hooked. And because I had, little tiny packs and little tiny shoulders. And before that, it was just tiny nothing.
Yep.
So I thought, okay, this is cool. This is a good deal. So I went through high school, working out, and then I went to college. And when I went to start at SPU, I thought I was going to be I wanted to be a counselor, because I like to, talk with people about their issues, and I've been fairly good at helping people through things. And so I thought I'd want to do that. So I started out as a psych major. And then while I was doing those classes, I was also taking some other classes that just to kind of offset it, other fun stuff like windsurfing and scuba diving.
Nice.
And so I got to know one of the PE professors taking those classes, and he was a great guy, and we were having a lot of fun. And so I just decided to take another one of his classes. And from high school, I liked working out. And so I thought, oh, I'll take, what was it? Kinesiology, I think it was, and just loved it. By this time I was a junior. So I'm like, crap, I can't switch majors. But my dad was a professor at SPU at the time. So I got 95% off tuition. And so I thought, well, so maybe I can go an extra year and switch majors.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I did it. And so then I graduated with a degree in exercise science. And the most valuable thing that I learned from my degree at SPU was how to read research. So I got really interested in the research. And on my first research paper, I went down to our library, because this was back before the internet. So I went to the library to crack open actually physical books, with pages that
they had those.
I don't even know what that is. And so I was looking through them and trying to find information for my research paper. And I only found 5 or 6 periodicals. So I go, well, our library here at SPU must be super lame. I got 5 or 6 here. So let me go to the public library and see what's there. And so I went there, and still the same problem, half a dozen. So I went back to my professor and I said, what's going on? Maybe I suck at the Dewey Decimal System or something. I can only find half a dozen research journals. And he goes, yeah, that's all there are. And I go, what do you mean? And he said, that's how new this field is. How cool is that? So that really got me fired up. So then I'm like, wow, I'm a pioneer. And he goes, yeah, we all are. That's how cool this is. And so another thing I learned is that traditional exercise was invented back in 1891, and that's strength training, sets and reps, and traditional cardio, most of what we're still doing nowadays, was invented back in World War II. So I'm thinking, wow, this stuff is really outdated. I bet you there's a better way. So I just set out to find a better way and mainly solve 3 problems with what I felt was traditional exercise, 3 problems. 1, it takes too much time. 2, it causes injuries. And 3, that mentally, it's a big commitment, but Yeah, it's huge because people, it's such a big, huge bite to chew off. But also with traditional training, that particular methodology is really good at bulking people up. Most people don't want that anymore. So back in the 80s, it was kind of cool, cool to be a bodybuilder and be all big and stuff. But then in the 90s, with all the drugs and everything, they got too big. And then now in the 2000s and today, they look like cartoon figures. I mean, they're not even, it's like caricatures.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so it's just, people don't want that anymore. And, there's a very small segment of our population that still thinks that's awesome. And that's great. Mm-hmm. And they should stick with traditional training. But most of the other people now are kind of afraid of traditional training because they don't want to get bigger. They want to get smaller, if anything. And you survey guys now, and 9 out of 10 of them want to be defined and look strong and feel strong and look like the cover of Men's Fitness, not the cover of Muscle and Fitness.
Right.
And, big difference. And so I thought, well, okay, I want to find a program that can define you and make you really strong without the bulk, but give you all the definition you want, and that saves time and is way safer. And so I just plugged away at the research, and based on that research, started experimenting with my own clients that I got after I graduated. And so they were kind of my guinea pigs, and then started developing this methodology. And so I trained people mostly out of their homes in a couple gyms in the area for about 10 years. And then got to the point where I had to scale myself. So started the X Gym and, hired some trainers. And that way I was able to reach more people and train more people. And so this is kind of where the whole entrepreneurial rose-colored glasses optimism thing kicked in. I'm like, okay, so now I can scale myself and hire all these people, and they're going to be exactly like me, and it'll just be clones, and we'll be able to.
It wasn't quite like that, was it?
No, because they're not clones. They've got their own stuff, and some of them are great, and I've actually learned from some of them. And then, but they're also their own individuals with their own life and their own drama, and so like, oh, I didn't sign up for this part. and
that's where the psychology comes in, right? The psychology major.
Yeah, right. So here I am. now I turned into the shrink that I first planned on being.
Yeah.
And so then now all of a sudden I'm dealing with that, and I have these employees, which it sometimes feels like kids, more kids.
Yes.
And you hear a lot of business owners talk about, it just feels like an adult daycare center now. And another guy I was talking to just last week, he started a business, and it grew and grew and grew until had like 150 employees. But then he got to the point where he wasn't able to go out and meet with the customer anymore, which was his original passion.
Yeah.
Now he's HR guy, and he just comes to work and shows up, and he deals with employee problems all day. And then he goes home, and it's not fun anymore. So he kind of sold the business and got out. So I'm presenting that as kind of a problem, and I don't even know, after 18 years, I still don't know how to solve that part of it. But just maybe it can help some people just to hear that are starting out, that are watching this.
Yeah.
Just to have that in mind, that because entrepreneurs are usually optimists. Yeah. And we start out and we think, best case scenario, this is how it's going to go, and it's going to be awesome, and nothing bad is ever going to go wrong, and there's never going to be any hard times that we have to push through, because we don't think about that. We'll deal with it when it comes up, but we don't plan for that stuff. But it would be smart to plan for it, or to hear perspectives from people like you and me that have been there. So then when it does pop up, you're a little bit more prepared, because hopefully you thought about it ahead of time, and now you've got a little bit of a plan, and you expect it, so it doesn't hit you in the side of the face like a slap in the face.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, but now here I am 18 years later, and we're plugging along, and we got a couple gyms now, and they both, we've moved and expanded them, and the growth and everything has been fun, but it hasn't been as fast as I wanted, because by now I figured it would be worldwide.
Yeah.
And most of it is my fault, because I just don't have the built-in skills to run that adult daycare center and all that. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I've had some amazing trainers, and right now I've got a really good staff. So that's fantastic. But I'm also not an amazing marketing person. I'm by default, I'm a natural introvert. I like these one-on-one things, and I pretend just you and me, and that there's not a whole bunch of other people watching now and eventually, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is how I do best. And so, there's that whole part of it too. But so I take responsibility for not being nationwide by now. But it's just not in my skill set. So that's where the entrepreneur has to get real smart and hire people that have different skill sets, and purposely not hire people just like themselves.
Yeah.
And so I got some good trainers now that have different skill sets that I'm able to utilize, and just brought on a really good manager who has, he's almost opposite of me in lots of different ways, which is great. And so hopefully he'll be able to take it to where I haven't been able to take it. And that's the whole key, is because people get to the point where they get stuck and they think, well, I just have to get better at my weaknesses and make them strengths. Well, no, I think stick with your strengths and do what you're best at, and stick and keep going in that direction, and use, because that's probably your passion too, and it's your area of excellence. And those strengths you find easiest to do, and you're by the way, you're really good at it. So instead of pulling yourself out of that, pulling energy away from all that where you could do some amazing things, and putting it into your weaknesses, no, hire somebody that has strengths where your weaknesses are. And so that's what I'm trying to do now. And think I found him. So, we'll see, and we'll plug along. And so far, so good. And then maybe the two of us together, combining our strengths, can make it what it deserves to be.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. That's, and some really good points out of it. Number one, Marcus Lemonis, who's, billionaire on the profit and like a big role model to me, he always says, he's like, part of being an entrepreneur is being a babysitter, just like you said.
Yeah.
So when you expect that and accept it as well, I think it's a little bit easier to deal with it, because at some level you're going to have to deal with it, or bring in somebody to help you deal with it. It's just part of the gig.
Right.
Instead of being like surprised, oh my gosh, I have to deal with people and their personal issues and all this stuff that I never expected.
Yeah.
And having that anticipation, it makes it a little bit easier to deal with.
Yeah.
And then also, another great point you had is, expect difficulty, expect, some hard times to come, expect it to take longer than you thought.
Right.
Right now I'm listening to Grant Cardone's the 10X rule book.
Yeah.
Not all the way through it, but just the beginning is just a great thing. It's like, just, start planning that's going to take 10 times longer and 10 times much more effort and resources, and then you'll be okay. Because you're exactly right. The entrepreneurial mindset, which is a huge asset, is, this is going to be great. I love it. This is a great idea. Everything will go great. And that's what you need from like a stamina or positive attitude standpoint. But then when bad things happen, you have to also have plan B and C and D and all the way to Z sometimes. But yeah, so those are definitely great points. As far as like the gym and your approach and the way that you've approached it's really interesting to me, because like I said, I was the skinny kid and completely relate to that. And it wasn't until, 5 or 6 years ago, actually, that I like took going to the gym seriously, and I got up at 5:30 every day and went 5 days a week. And, that was a huge turning point. And I got to the point where I was actually happy with how I looked and felt and everything like that. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit more about what you discovered or what you learned, because if you're doing this 21-minute twice a week thing, and I saw all the testimonials on your site, I mean, tell me about how you came to that and how it works. I think that's really interesting. That's not, as you said, the traditional way of like, oh, you just got to put in the time.
Right. Yeah. So traditional training, you're doing sets and reps, and you do a 15, 20-second set of a certain number of reps, 8 to 12, whatever it is. And then you rest for a while, and then you do another set and you rest for a while. You do another set, rest for a while. Well, based on what I've discovered in the research and what I've tried with my guinea pig clients over the years it's been 28 years now since I started this whole process. So a lot of experimentation. I still spend on average a couple hours a day on the research.
Wow.
Just trying to find new stuff and make it even better. But over the years, trying new stuff out, some stuff didn't work. Most stuff didn't work. Some stuff did. And the stuff that did work ended up taking less time, because that was one of my goals, and being more effective. And so I started out traditional training with my clients, and then tweaking that and innovating on that and coming up with new innovations and inventions. And it keeps getting shorter. And every time it got a little bit shorter, they were happy because, less time, cool. They're busy people. They could use more time. That's a huge resource. And so they started telling all their friends, and that's how I got really busy, is it just grew. And it eventually ended up being 20 minutes. And the reason it's 21 now is because when I finally got it down to 20 minutes, it was great. And on average, it was to be about that. But less than 20 minutes, sometimes we could get it done in less than 20 minutes. But then they felt a little bit ripped off. Like, oh, where's my other 2 minutes?
So 21 is just marketing.
Yeah. See, when we go past 20, in which we usually do, because we're trying to give them extra value and we're talking to them and, between exercises about their nutrition and stuff like that. So it ends up being 23, 24. And then they're like, hey, what's this 24 minute stuff? It's supposed to be 20. And so I'm like, well, all right, let's, what I've learned in psychology in college, but also what I've researched, because I researched 3 things: brain science, nutrition science, and exercise science. And so what I learned from all that is if you make it a non-round number, if you make it 21, then people don't care as much. And so now we're still doing 24, 25 minutes every once in a while.
Right.
And they're like, they don't notice it, because 21 minutes, 24, but when it's 20, it's just a whole thing. And so that's the main.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, after I came out with 20-minute workout, there's a bunch of other gyms that started coming out with the 20-minute workout. And so it's just market differentiation as well. Yeah. So it's 21, which sticks out a little bit, and people are like, oh, what's this extra minute? And so, it gets them in the door. And then when they're in the door, they can see instantly with our gym that we're different. And then after the first workout, within 2 or 3 minutes, they can see, oh, this really is, they can feel the difference. And so then we don't have to convince them anymore that we're different with 21 or whatever it is, because they can see it and feel it.
Yeah.
And so instead of multi-sets with rests in between, we're doing 1 set to complete muscle fatigue, complete failure. So there's nothing left. We've burned off all the fuel. The tank is empty. And then but that set takes about 3 minutes. So a traditional set takes 10 to 15 seconds of, reps, and then rest. Ours is 3 minutes of time under tension, absolutely no rests. And so it's kind of like Tai Chi in a sense, very controlled, but with weight. So if you imagine holding dumbbells while you're doing Tai Chi, you can't hold heavy dumbbells because it's time under tension. It has to be light. So we're also lightweight or body weight, which makes it safe. So we're doing controlled motions, makes it safe. Lightweight makes it safe. And so instead of doing, big heavy barbells, fast ballistic reps, we're doing this other thing that's a lot safer, so it's more sustainable, because people don't have to take time off when they blow their shoulder out or their knee or their head, in their shins on the spot, whatever. And so the other thing is, it's also a different market, because we're more of a thinking man's gym, and woman. So when people come to us, they're over the traditional training phase of their life. And they don't have time for that anymore. Or they've been injured, or they don't want to get injured because all their friends have gotten injured. And so they're older. They're like late 30s to 60s is our main demographic. And so when they're over the CrossFit phase of their life, they come to us. It's a completely different group. So of course we have 20-somethings and we have 70-somethings. But the main bulk of the biggest part of our bell curve is 30-somethings to 60-somethings. and baby boomers. Whereas in the past, until we came along, baby boomers were like, well, there's nothing for me to do. I don't want to go to the gym because there's all these young people jumping around and it's crowded. I'm not into that.
Yeah.
And I can't do heavy weights because I'm 60s, 70s, and I don't want to anyways, even if I could. And so I guess I'm just going to go walking. And that's all they thought. So, but now there's an option. We're an option for them. So it's a pretty broad age range, but we're finding a lot of the baby boomers are finding a lot of success with our program.
That's amazing. Talk about like a well-engineered plan and like really digging into the data and the facts instead of just taking the traditional path. That's very cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So with that type of plan and you have the couple gyms and it's been growing, is it something that you have only done in person, or have you ever explored like virtual coaching, or what is, like, I know you said it's an area that you're looking to build out with a new partner or trainer that you've brought in to like scale more. What have been your plans or thoughts or attempts at scaling? And then like, what are your goals as far as in that area?
Yes. So we're definitely looking to scale more in the online market. So our clients are very busy people. Mm-hmm. They're old enough that they have really busy jobs and they have kids and they just don't have time for traditional training anymore. And they travel a lot too. So a lot of times they're so busy that they don't have time to make up their workouts before and after their trips. So we'll train them Skype when it works. It didn't for us earlier today.
Yeah.
Or FaceTime. And
right.
So we can train them virtually in their hotel room, in their hotel gym, and if they have a gym membership in another city. All they need is a clip tripod for their phone, a wide angle lens they can clip on, and their Bluetooth. And then they just set us down on the floor. And so we can see their whole body with the wide angle lens, and we just walk them through it. It's a workout. And it's 90% as good as being there.
Yeah. And way more convenient, probably. So.
Yeah. So there's that part of it, which we could certainly do. But there's also the part where we want to move forward with video workouts that are pre-filmed and have a platform, web app and phone app where they can drag and drop and build their own workout.
Oh, cool.
On what's at their gym. Or if they want to do a workout in their home, or they're on the road in hotel room, hotel gym, then they see, well, they look at it and see what equipment's available, and they go, okay, well, this looks similar. There's a chest press. I'm going to drag that in there. And, different brands, different machines are going to be different weights and different settings and stuff, but at least it's going to be the same coaching. Mm-hmm. And so then what we can do is coach them through their exercises. So they build their workout, and then they start their workout, and it progresses just like if they were at an X gym or we were doing virtual training. Mm-hmm. And because I've done so many thousands of these workouts with people, I know how this time under tension thing works. And I know at what point they're going to start doing certain things. So if they're doing the seated row, I know at about rep 3, at a minute into this exercise, their shoulders are going to be doing this. And so I can say, keep those shoulders down, and their elbows are going to be too low. And so get those up, put those hands wide, isometric push, all these little cues and tips. They're like, what? And I've done this with people just for experimenting. And they're like, wow, how did you know? It's just a pre-recorded video. It's just spooky.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So because of the unique nature of this style of training, that's a really cool possibility that we're moving forward in that direction too.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
What's the secret behind it only like being able to do it twice a week? I noticed on the site there was like the twice a week plan, and then there was more like if you wanted to be more aggressive or something, but that seems impossible to me as a traditional guy who went and did the reps and did the thing 5 days a week. How does that part work?
I know. I was like you and everybody else that does traditional training. I was working at 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, 10 hours a week. And in college, I had that kind of time. I could afford it. When I was young, that's fine.
Right. I don't have that time anymore. That's why I struggle with getting there at all. It's like I have my son and I have my business and like I have way too much going on to figure that out, I feel like.
There you go. Yeah. And if there's an entrepreneur somewhere who has 10 hours a week, he's probably not going to succeed in his business.
I would agree. That's a lot of time to not be working on your business.
No, huge. Yeah. And that doesn't include the drive to and from and the shower and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. It's crazy. So it's perfect for entrepreneurs. But yeah, so the whole thing with the frequency is I've tried all the different frequencies. I've tried 4 times a week, and I've tried once a week, and I've tried 3 times, twice. So once a week does give improvement. It's with traditional training, it's a flat line. With our system, it's actually improvement.
Wow, once a week.
Yeah, just once a week. Twice a week on a graph looks like this. It's super steep. 3 times a week looks like this. It's because you don't get enough recovery.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's that intense.
Huh.
But it's also safe. So when I say we're high intensity training, harder than anything out there, people tell us that all the time. Then they also think, oh, it must be really dangerous because they think high intensity, heavy weights, screaming, grunting,
all that crazy stuff. Yeah.
But it's not. It's high intensity Tai Chi, essentially. There's 7 different methods. And I use Tai Chi because it's an example of one of the ways that we do the rep itself. And that's what I mean by the method, slow motion. But they're not all like that. And we cycle them through every 7 weeks or every month, depending on the person or if it's group or one-on-one training. So we're consciously and constantly, with very specific intention, changing it around. And so their physiology can't adapt. But because of the intensity, they need recovery. So that's how we ended up with the sweet spot of twice a week. Now, there's some people with a super low pain tolerance that need to build that up over time, and they will with our style training because it stretches that envelope too. But maybe they do start out at 3 times a week because of the low pain tolerance. They're not able to put the intensity into the workout that some other people can with the higher pain tolerance.
Gotcha.
So we'll start them out 3 times a week. And then as they build up, they stretch that mental envelope, then they're able to put more intensity into it and cut their time down and just do it twice a week.
And get better results based on what you said, which is crazy. Less time and better results. That's a pretty easy sell.
Yeah, I know. And the other cool thing about this methodology is as people stretch that mental envelope, and they're also stretching their physical envelope. So every time they come in for a workout, those envelopes get a little bigger. Then they leave with those envelopes. Then they come back with those bigger envelopes for the next workout. And then we stretch those out. And then they leave with those. They come back and we stretch those out. And so their envelopes keep getting bigger, which allows them to put more into the workout every time they come in, get more out of the workout. So as they become in better shape, 21 minutes is still good enough, no matter where they are in their fitness journey, because they're able to put more into it, as opposed to traditional training where you get to your 10 hours a week and you're in great shape, but you want to go a little bit further. You can see that 10 hours a week, but if you want to get in better shape, now you got to add a couple hours. So now you're up to 12 and you got in better shape. Well, now if you want to move forward, now it needs to be 14 until pretty soon you turn into a professional workouter person, which there's a lot of those out there too, because that's kind of identity and it's fine, but I don't have time for that. And so, but this automatically adjusts as the intensity goes up, as those envelopes stretch. And so you still, even the people who are in awesome shape that have been working out with us for years still are just doing the 21 minutes twice a week.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, I know.
Because the two biggest barriers for me, and I'm really frustrated with it this year because I've just had a terrible year of working out, is the time is really hard. I'm way overcommitted right now with other priorities that pay me. and then the other part, the last time I took a break and didn't get back to it, is I pulled my shoulder, trying to do more reps and do more weight and do the thing you always do. And I'm like, and it wasn't bad. I've never seriously hurt myself, which I'm really fortunate, but I don't ever want to hurt myself seriously. So I'm super careful about what I do anyway.
Right.
And eliminating those two things and still seeing continual results, man, it seems too good to be true, but you have the proof. So,
yeah. And we get that a lot. And people come in and they're like, come on, really? And some people don't even want to come try us because they just think that can't be possible. I'm not going to waste my time even trying it. But the people that do come in, they're still skeptical, but at least they're willing to try.
Right.
And we're like, great, we love skeptics. Let's do this and see what you think after we're done with the intro workout.
Yeah.
And invariably, every time they're like, oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm in.
Totally off the top of my head idea, but you should find a big skeptic who doesn't come in and say, hey, we'll give this to you for free for the next year if we can film every single workout and do a whole Facebook Live case study, because we all have to see it to believe it. And that would be, it'd be worth whatever time and money you have to put in to have like a progressive change of watching somebody. And then obviously like the big milestones, but sometimes we just have to like figure out ways to overcome things like that. Cause I would be even more skeptical if I hadn't done the traditional route. Knowing the traditional route of like how much time you put in, what you're saying makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But if you haven't even done that, but you're just at the point in your life where you're like overweight or skinny, or you're just not happy, it just doesn't click. It doesn't make sense. So, but man, that's amazing.
It's fun.
So what, this has been really valuable and super interesting. I had no idea that it would be this interesting, honestly. What's kind of a way that people can connect with you now if they're, obviously what are the two gym locations, I guess, first, before I get ahead of myself?
We have one over in West Seattle.
Okay.
And then we have another one in Kirkland. And it's right on the border of Bellevue and Kirkland. So it's South Kirkland, North Bellevue.
Okay.
So it's really convenient for Bellevue people and Kirkland people to get to. And that's why we moved here. We were downtown Kirkland, but the traffic and parking got horrendous over the years. So we moved here. We're better on both and more accessible for Bellevue too.
Nice.
So those are the locations. And then the first intro is the intro workout's free. So people,
cool.
They can come and try it out. And we love skeptics. Those are the funnest. You get to see their change of heart. And then we also work with people on nutrition and what I call brain training. And brain training is helpful because it helps people get past their mental blocks for exercise, but also for nutrition stuff. And so I've got this one technique, and I adopted it from, it's called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's tapping. It's acupressure technique. Tapping technique on energy meridians. It sounds real woo-woo, but it's on an electrical basis. So even if somebody thinks it's woo-woo and they don't want to believe it, they're a skeptic, it still works. In fact, speaking of skeptics, one of the guys, one of my biggest skeptics with the EFT wanted to cut his craving of this certain cookie that he bought at Starbucks because she's totally addicted. So I said, bring it in and let's sit down and we'll do the tapping and we'll do the EFT technique and we'll see if it works. It doesn't work on everybody, but let's see if it works on you. So we sit down and he initially he's like, this is stupid. This isn't gonna work. So we start doing it. And he had the cookie right in front of him. And so after a couple rounds of this technique, it only takes 3 minutes to do a couple rounds. He looked at the cookie and he goes, I don't crave it right now. I go, well, take a bite. So he took a bite. He goes, ew, tastes like cardboard. And then he realized, then he caught himself because he's thinking in his brain, wait, I came in here as a skeptic. Now I've got this cognitive dissonance. And so I need to be the skeptic guy still. And so he goes, well, it was just a distraction technique. That's all it was, trying to, minimize it. And I said, okay, the point is it worked.
Yeah, who cares what it is?
Whatever you want. Yeah, who cares? Call it a distraction technique. And he goes, yeah, okay, I guess you're right. And so this great gift that he was able to take with him, this new technique he learned, pull out of his pocket anytime he wants and just tap at a stoplight or wherever. It's super convenient, super quick. And it really helped him get rid of that craving and a lot of other cravings.
Wow, that's very cool.
That's just one of the 30 that I've brain training techniques I've developed, and started from back when my mom got early onset Alzheimer's. And so that's back in 2000 is where I really started pouring myself into the brain research, plus, my interest in psychology and all that. And I just haven't stopped since, and just learned a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm not a counselor or a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything like that. And so I don't do that with people. I don't have time, to sit down and counsel with people. But the brain training techniques are shortcuts and quick ways to help people with cravings and get past certain hurdles or mental blocks, things like that, neuro-linguistic programming, and a lot of different things, different techniques from a lot of different schools of psychology and thought that are shortcuts. It's not counseling, it's not therapy, it's a shortcut. And I refer out to counselors and therapists because I'm not that. Yeah. And so if a shortcut isn't good enough, then they need to go talk to somebody. And I've got some great people I refer to. But with a lot of people, I can help them really quick. Because again, it's about time. My people are super busy people. They need quick solutions. And that's what brain training stuff is.
Amazing. Great. So as we wrap up here, how can people reach out to you? Do you have virtual training spots open right now? If there's anybody nationally that wants to work with you, how does that look, or how does that work, or is that down the road still?
No, we're geared up to do that now. And so I think the best way somebody would contact me would just email pj@xgym.com.
Okay.
And that's probably the best place to start. Our website is xgym.com, XGYM. I was lucky enough to get that short domain back in 98.
I was going to ask you, that's a real short geeky domain.
Yeah.
It's a gem.
Internets were still new.
Yeah.
Interwebs.
Very cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So that's probably the best way to contact. And then pjfit.com is my personal blog. There's also a blog on xgym.com. And then I'm teaming up with my sweetheart, Beverly. So we've got a site, beageandpeage.com, that we just opened. And so we're moving forward in that direction of really trying to help as many people as we can, and doing vlogs and things on that. So that's a fun new project.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much, PJ. This has been really interesting and informative. Again, as everybody, if you want to reach out and work with PJ personally, or check out his locations, if you're nearby, you can get him at pj@xgym.com. Thanks so much for being on today, PJ. I really appreciate the time, and we'll have you back again soon, okay?
Thank you, Gabe. That was fun.